Okay, this is the WrestleMania preview. Let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about the Intercontinental title ladder match. Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Wade Barrett, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Cody Rhodes. The IC title ladder match. The title's actually not vacant. Wade Barrett's the champion. Now Daniel Bryan is in this match. Are you excited about it? One of the good things that might come from it is if Daniel Bryan wins the IC title, maybe we'll have a unification match with John Cena with the U.S. title at Extreme Rules. That's something to look forward to. But what do you think of this match?
Well, I think it could be great. With Daniel Bryan, there's a lot of great talent in it, and it could be a fun match to watch. I'm a big Daniel Bryan fan, big Bryan Danielson fan. I wanted to see him in a one-on-one match. If we're up to me, it would be Bryan versus Lesnar in your classic David versus Goliath match, where it would be impossible for Bryan to win. But yeah, they're giving him that Chris Benoit treatment. If you remember, after WrestleMania 20, Benoit was in the Money in the Bank. That was the first time Benoit was ever in the Money in the Bank match.
That was the first one. Yeah.
That was the first. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was the very first one. So they're really giving Daniel Bryan that Chris Benoit treatment, like, he's good enough to steal the show, but he's not good enough to be the guy.
I mean, I was just really hoping he would get like a Shawn Michaels type of match, or they'll let him go out there for a half hour with like a Kurt Angle, or
even Dolph Ziggler. But they really, and I truly mean when I say they're giving him the Benoit treatment, I really mean it. He just lost to Dolph Ziggler twice. He just in very short matches.
I wouldn't look too much into that though.
I don't trust
that
at all.
Usually when they have guys lose on TV, they usually set them up for the big win. Usually that is the case, not always, but I wouldn't look too much into that.
I don't know. Well, that's a topic for another time. But I
don't really mind Bryan not going for the title here because Lesnar looks like he might stay. So my problem was if Lesnar was going to leave, his last match should have been against Daniel Bryan. Right. But if Lesnar's going to stay, then obviously we have a lot of time to build that up.
They might not, but I'm just saying they might never do Lesnar and Bryan. They don't see it. I swear to God, there are guys back there who just don't see Bryan as a
like the Michael Hayes and maybe the Kevin Dunns and guys like that. There's a lot of different opinions going on backstage, and they're trying to appeal to so many demographics that it's just a really confusing time right now.
Because Bryan just appeals to us and people who really want to see great professional wrestling, and that's a bad word.
Let me bring this up now because we didn't mention it, but obviously we're both disappointed in the WrestleMania card. There's not a lot of excitement. I'm really not looking forward to the show. But I think one of the problems with the WWE, and we've talked about this before, is there's just so many... they're just trying to appeal to so many different demographics. Mm-hmm. I think the philosophy, back in the day, it was, I remember Triple H even saying that the kids are going to watch no matter what. Mm-hmm. And now they kind of have this idea that the older guys that go to WrestleMania and the Royal Rumbles, that hardcore demographic is going to watch and show up no matter what.
Right, it's switched. It's almost like the philosophy has switched. Now they're catering to the younger fans and the mainstream fans, the people who they're trying to keep engaged that are watching the NFL and the NBA and the UFC. They want to catch those fans. And they feel like, well, we're going to watch anyway. And in a way, they're right, because we've got the network. We're tuning in. We didn't think Roman Reigns was ready for the main event, but we think it's 6 months to a year premature. And so a lot of the pro wrestling, indie wrestling fans agree with us on that, I'm sure. And so now we're still going to watch. So in a way, they're right. But I will say this: I was just so you guys know, and I'm sure some of you might feel this way. If Bryan gets this Chris Benoit treatment, and he doesn't get put, he's not being utilized. He's kind of being put in the mid card again. I probably will stop watching because he and CM Punk were the reasons I came back into it. Yeah. And that's just me. That's just me. I'm going to have a hard time swallowing Roman Reigns as the next John Cena, who everybody's booing the crap out of, but they're going to keep pushing it.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think the future looks bright for Daniel Bryan because he just came back. They kind of set it up like he was coming back. He was going to have his big win at WrestleMania, but at the same time, this is going to be a nice, slow, gradual build on his way back to the top, and we'll get to see him have some good. I think he'll win the Intercontinental Championship. He'll bring some prestige back to the IC title, while Lesnar could still be the world champion, and you could use the IC and US title unification match to kind of.
You're assuming that Lesnar's going to win. I mean,
I really am. I really think it'd be a huge mistake if Lesnar loses, and I don't think he will.
So let's just jump to the main event.
I think they realize they fucked up with Roman Reigns.
Can I just jump to the main event?
Yeah.
Okay, that segment at the end of Raw where they're fighting over the title, and also this also relates to the IC title build where people are just kind of stealing the IC title belt. I mean, I think it's a good example of the demographic they're catering to. It's very dumbed down. The writing is almost non-existent in these cases. It's really just, I mean, we're going to play tug of war over the title belt.
I know. I'm surprised that Brock even signed off on doing that.
It's just a lack of creativity. Maybe Brock just
the problem is when you put someone like Roman Reigns in that position, they should have known that they were just going to be very limited in what they could do. And it was a lot. The only good thing that came from that feud was the night when they filmed it in Stamford, Connecticut, when there was a snow down.
Yeah.
Or when it snowed.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was actually cool.
But anything they did in front of a live audience with just Brock and Roman, they had zero confidence in it.
They had zero confidence. The crowd didn't like it. The crowd booed the crap out of Roman Reigns, and that's what hurts it. And you have to win the crowd, and I think that this is where Vince McMahon's ego and his unwillingness to waver when he says, I want to push this guy because I think he's going to be a household name, really.
It's not just Vince, though. It's other guys, too.
Yeah, I think Vince is at the core of it, though. I'm sure it's other guys, but I just have a big problem with it because I think that obviously the loudest fans are not going to accept it, and it just kind of sucks. It just kind of hurts. And
you feel bad for Roman Reigns, man.
I do feel bad for him because I think he has potential to be awesome. I think he's great.
It's just the problem is when you push guys when there's other guys that should be in that position that have earned it before him and that have paid their dues even longer than him. That's when it hurts.
But it's not just that. It's also he doesn't have. If you wanted to push him as your top face, he doesn't have the backing yet. He doesn't have them behind him. I think The Rock is a good comparison. In fact, they're both Samoan. They both have a marketable look. You look back when Rock came in as a face, they booed the crap out of him. They tried to push him as this mega face. Then they had him be a face again in the Austin era, and they did the smartest thing by having him win the title as a heel and have him turn heel at the Survivor Series 1998. It was the smartest thing they could have done because people wanted to get behind The Rock. He was starting to build that face level.
But it wasn't quite there yet. Austin was still like a couple miles ahead of him.
Austin, people would take a bullet for Austin at that time. There were people who loved Austin so much.
Yeah.
But instead they turned Rock heel.
Yeah.
And then when the time was right, they turned Rock face again, and people went apeshit for him.
Because when Rock was the champion as a heel, the crowd just kept building and building for him.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where they knew what The Rock was going to say before he even said it.
Yeah.
So it just the point you're trying to make is you just got to be patient.
You got to be patient.
They didn't even do this with Lesnar. Letting him run with the championship as a face right away.
One of my predictions is that Triple H helps Roman Reigns beat Lesnar, and Roman Reigns joins the Authority. That's a possibility.
And then you also have the Seth Rollins factor, because Rollins has got to cash this in sooner or later. He's only got about 3 months left before he could cash it in. So I really hope we see Lesnar and Rollins actually have a 10-minute match for the title. I would love to see that because I think Rollins is the perfect guy to pull that off. I think he could still lose. And still, Lesnar could still, in some sort of a way, still put him over. Kind of like the Nigel match from Ring of Honor. If you've seen that match, you know what I was talking about. But that was a star-making match. And I think if he faces Lesnar in a short little match where it just goes back and forth for 10 minutes, I think that could be amazing.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think Reigns and Lesnar's going to cut it. I really think Rollins is going to interject himself in that
would
main
really
event.
Cool. I just don't. I don't. With this build that I've seen with Rollins on Raw, I'm just not sure
It just doesn't feel right,
It
right?
doesn't feel right. I'm not sure it's the right time.
You always say that. Usually, you don't expect the Money in the Bank when it does happen.
True.
Even when Edge cashed in, I didn't see that coming as well. But as far as the Lesnar Reigns match, is it going to be a nightmare or should it be interesting because of the crowd? I think now that Lesnar's staying, I think a lot of people they're going to be 100% behind Lesnar.
Sure he's staying?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Pretty sure he's staying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Another thing that someone mentioned to me is The Rock.
The Rock will help Roman Reigns.
The Rock is supposed to interfere. I do not want to see that happen.
That would really suck. I think he will be there in some capacity, but
right.
yeah, I just don't. That would be a huge mistake to have Lesnar lose, because whoever wins this belt is going to be tied to the streak. And I just don't think Reigns is the right guy for that. It's got to be the right guy. They have to be very. They really have to pick the right guy. Be very meticulous about who they pick. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
All right, so we go to Rollins and Orton. I think Orton could win this match because when you have the Money in the Bank, you kind of have a little bit more flexibility about losing. So I can see Orton winning this match. I think this should definitely be the match of the night as far as one-on-one matches go. I think Orton is much better as a face. His matches with Christian were amazing. So Rollins and Orton, you got two great talents in there. I think this should be the match of the night.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not a big Randy Orton fan, but I like Seth Rollins is amazing in every way right now. Yeah. He's just hitting on all cylinders.
And I feel bad because his performance at the Royal Rumble, it kind of went underappreciated because there was such a backlash against Roman Reigns. But that triple threat match was amazing, and we really, it really reminded me of like Tyler Black from Ring of Honor. That's what it really reminded me of. It just really reminded you of how great he is.
If they give them enough time, if they give him like 20 minutes, I think it could be a great match because Rollins wants to be the show stealer.
Definitely.
Show.
Yeah.
I think he really wants to be the guy. Because ever since in watching the Shield documentary, the best part of that was hearing how he had to really fight his way from OVW. Not OVW, I'm sorry.
FCW.
FCW.
To NXT, and there was a lot of guys that wanted him to change his style and thought he wasn't really conforming. Yeah.
And I think he still has to fight for it somewhat. I mean, it helps the fact that he's got the briefcase. He's got the briefcase and he's in the authority, but at the same time, I think he still is trying to impress. He has to impress a lot of people in order for them to see him as this next Shawn Michaels-esque guy, and so I think he's going to show up at WrestleMania big time. So I look forward to that.
I mean, he's in a great position. Not even Daniel Bryan is in the spot that he's in. One-on-one match that's going to go at least 20 minutes. So I'm really looking forward to that match. What about Sting versus Triple H? A lot of people are worried that this match is not going to get a great reception. But with Sting, I think when Sting has a lot of pressure on him, he always delivers. It's, if you look at situations where Sting wasn't motivated and didn't have any pressure, that's when you kind of get the lackadaisical Sting. But his first WWE match, his first WrestleMania, he's good at deliver. I think Sting is awesome on the mic. I think he's a great character. I think it's the biggest match of his career, and him and Triple H has been a dream match for years. So I think this will be good.
Whether he delivers or not, I was told that this is his hometown that they're wrestling in.
San Francisco?
I believe so.
He's from Venice Beach, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it's his home state.
Home state, yeah.
So I think...
at WrestleMania, it really doesn't matter because you have so much of a mix of people traveling.
But I think he's gonna go over really well here.
I hope he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I never really watched Sting all that much. He can definitely wrestle. I mean, for crying out loud.
He's a great wrestler. In his prime, he was great.
He had the crowd in the palm of his hand on Monday night, and I was like, wow, this guy, he still talks as if he's 1999. Like he still cuts a promo like it's the early mid 90s.
I know, yeah.
But it works, like because he's that guy. Like I love it. I think it's great. I can't wait to see what happens. I wasn't excited about that match, but Monday Night Raw. I'm still calling it Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw made me excited for this match, so I am looking forward to it.
A lot of people have had problems with the build-up for pretty much all these matches, even Orton and Rollins. But, I think the thing that this could have done, Sting and Triple H, I think they could have got a lot more out of Flair. I think if there was some like promos between Flair and Sting, leading up to WrestleMania. It kind of used Flair as the one to really bring this feud to life. I think it would have came off even better, but I don't know. It just didn't seem like there was as much. I think Triple H could have done more on the mic and really see the problem with Triple H right now. I feel like he's not really letting himself go as a heel. He seems like he's too protected or just too careful. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of what WWE is right now. It's very careful about how they do things and what they put into storylines. They don't take a lot of risks.
Yeah.
It's been very cookie cutter, sledgehammer versus bat, tug of war over the WWE title, stealing the Intercontinental title from person to person. So, I mean, personally, no, it has, even the John Cena-Rusev feud is very... 1991. But I actually would argue that that's probably the most compelling feud out of all of them.
All right, why don't we jump right to that Cena versus Rusev for the U.S. title? I was really disappointed that this wasn't a street fight, because I think Cena is great in those last man standing matches, street fights. But so what do you think of this build up? You thought it was too American, too much of the American shit.
I mean, it is very early It is very early '90s cookie cutter, but at the same time, it's also very. It works. The fans are behind it, and it is very compelling to see John Cena being dominated by this. This Bulgarian bull. I'm excited to see this match. I want to see what happens. I thought they impressed me with their match at Fastlane. I actually wasn't pretty. I thought it was the second best match on the show. And actually, those were the only two good matches on that show. That match and Bryan versus Roman Reigns, But I'm still, I'm excited about this match. I think Rusev, he looks awesome, and in so many ways right now. It'll be interesting to see if John Cena delivers his first loss or
his first WrestleMania loss.
No, Rusev's first.
I'm sorry. That's right. Rusev is still undefeated.
He's undefeated, so that makes this.
Makes it intriguing.
I don't know. Are you?
Am I excited about it? No, I'm not really excited, but I do like the dynamic. You kind of have the Rocky IV thing with Lana as the Bridget Nielsen of the thing. But the thing that worries me is that Lana not being there. I don't know if she's suspended or whatever, but her not being there might take away from the match, because you don't want to have the crowd cheering "We want Lana" and not paying attention to what's going on in the ring.
Yeah.
It'd be great storytelling. I think Cena is. I really enjoy watching his matches, especially against a guy like Rusev. I think this would be similar to Cena's matches with Umaga and guys like that, when you didn't really expect much, but it ended up being a great story. So I am looking forward to it. I just think the build up was a little bit too cartoonish for me. Maybe that's not the right word to say it, but you just feel like we've seen this before with like Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter, or Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik. It was kind of a throwback to that type of feud, but it should. I'm expecting Cena to walk away with the U.S. title and to face Bryan at Extreme Rules in the unification match.
I don't predict that. I don't think. I think Cena and Rusev might end up having their street fight at Extreme Rules.
There you go.
That might end up being the way it works.
So you think it'll be like a draw, right?
Could be.
No,
Cena might win.
Cena might win. Yeah.
Cena might win. I don't predict. I almost don't want Cena to win, but I feel like they might be building to that.
Okay, all right. Let's jump right into Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker. On paper, it kind of reminds you of Mick Foley versus Undertaker. Maybe they're going more for that type of thing. But talk about Bray Wyatt. He's basically had to carry this feud by himself, and you've been impressed with him.
I was only impressed with the last promo that he cut. I thought the last promo that he cut was awesome. I'm still not really excited for the match, to be honest.
I know you could have cut the greatest promo in the world, but it's still really not going to make you excited about the matchup.
Guys, I know you guys, everybody loves The Undertaker. I've seen him come down to the aisle time and time again. I'm done seeing The Undertaker. I hope I'm not the only one. I'm just done seeing The Undertaker. I love the guy. He's a legend. He's great. He's had 5-star matches. He's had amazing matches, an amazing career. I'm done seeing him, especially if he's only going to show up once a year. Some people out there think, oh, that's special because he only shows up once a year. I'm like, I'm too old to buy into.
All right, let me ask you a question. Would you have loved to have seen Daniel Bryan in this spot against Undertaker?
Daniel Bryan versus Undertaker? I'm a Daniel Bryan fan, so I would have been excited to see like how that would have worked in the match.
I think it would have been cool, but here's the problem. I don't think they want to have Bryan lose to Taker.
I don't think.
And you know what? They might be giving up on Bray Wyatt, and this might be like his last big match.
They just had Bryan lose to Ziggler in a 10-minute match on Raw. I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah, but a loss to
about
the Undertaker
Bryan.
has more of an effect than a match on Raw.
No, they don't, Robin. I'm telling you, they do not care about Bryan's credibility in the ring right now. They just had him lose to Dolph Ziggler, who I love.
That's not a big deal to me.
It's a big deal to me.
No, it's not.
It's a huge deal to me because you'd never have Cena lose to Ziggler in a 10-minute match on Raw clean.
To me, that was a competitive thing. It was like, he beats me here, I might beat him at WrestleMania. That's not a big deal.
After a 25-minute match, after a 30-minute match, and I agree with Chris Jericho that you should still be able to lose.
Yeah.
But I just have a problem with it because the way he's been losing, it's not. It's like it doesn't even matter. That's my problem with it. But as far as the Undertaker and Bryan is concerned, I agree with you. I would have loved to see Undertaker versus Cena. I think that would have.
Yeah, that would have been great. But it's too late now. I think the intrigue with Cena and Taker was if you have the streak on the line. But now that the streak is over, it's like it just doesn't have the same. I just wouldn't have looked forward to as much.
Who knows if Cena ever does turn heel? I think that would be a good way to do it because everybody would boo the crap out of him and root for Undertaker.
But I think the Wyatt thing is just we even said Undertaker probably should have took this WrestleMania off and then face Sting next year. That probably would have been the way to go.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the most predictable Undertaker match yet. I think it's just a nice way to get the win back to avenge last year's defeat. And then next year he'll face Sting. So I don't think Wyatt has any chance of winning. I think this would be his last big match in a long time. For a long time.
Who, Bray Wyatt?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that necessarily because I know Vince loves Bray Wyatt. He loves what Bray Wyatt brings to the table. So I'm not sure Bray Wyatt will be involved with the championship, anytime after WrestleMania. But I could see in the summertime Bray Wyatt having some big time matches. I disagree with that. But whether he wins or loses, it's not going to matter. I agree. I think Undertaker's going to win this match.
All right. Any more thoughts on Lesnar and Reigns? I'm looking forward to that because of the crowd.
Crowd's going to go
and
crazy.
the Money in the Bank thing. That could be a possibility.
The crowd is going to go crazy for Lesnar.
Yeah. I hope it's an annihilation like it was at SummerSlam. I think that'd be cool. But you don't think that's going to happen?
No, they're not going to do that. I have the two predictions possibilities are if Roman just wins clean, we're all going to be like, wow, you guys are stupid because that's, it's not too late to cut. That's what they wanted, I'm sure.
Well, I wouldn't mind if he wins clean, but it's got to be a fucking amazing match.
It's got to be an amazing, right.
If it's like a 10-minute squash, that's not. If Lesnar's re-signing, there's no way that's going to happen.
No, I
don't think Reigns has a chance of winning this match.
You either have to turn Reigns heel.
And have Triple H come out?
And have him win by the cheapest way possible.
Right, that's a good point. You said if Triple H is going to lose to Sting,
right,
then he's got to make up for it somehow later in the night.
But I'm just telling everybody, and I'm fine with Seth Rollins cashing. I think that'll be awesome. But I think having Reigns win clean, even in a great match, is just not going to work. These fans are going to eat him alive, and I don't want that to happen to this guy who I think has a lot of potential to be a great star, and I just think it's the wrong time to have him do that. It's not too late to call an audible like you should have done 2 Royal Rumbles in a row.
Okay, so overall, man, I think Lesnar is going over. I like to see Lesnar go over Rollins and Reigns, and then maybe face Seth Rollins at SummerSlam for the title. And then Daniel Bryan next year at WrestleMania. I think that's the picture that I think they should go with. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you enjoy WrestleMania, and we're done.